We are the Non-Prophets. This show is brought to you by the Atheist Community of Austin, Texas. I'm your host, Jeff D. My co-hosts are Mary Mcmanamee.
Hi, folks.
And Vic Farrow.
Hello. Our
producer is Russell Glasser.
Hello.
And today's opening music was Prophecy by Gary Newman. We are live October 5, 2002. The Atheist Community of Austin is a non-profit educational organization promoting positive atheism and the separation of church and state. We have weekly meetings, Sunday mornings. You know, every time when I start this show, I just can't talk. It takes me about 15 minutes to get into it. So, Sunday mornings at the Hot Jumbo Bagel Shop, 307 West 5th Street at 10:30 a.m., except for the first Sunday of each month when we have our lecture series at 11 a.m. in the Longhorn Room of Fur's Cafeteria at North Cross Mall. The next lecture will be tomorrow, October 6th. Dan Baker will be speaking about memes, and that ought to be fascinating.
You should have some warm-up exercises before you get started, you know. Me.
Should sing along with the music or something.
There you go.
Except we can't hear it. Did I say Dan?
Yeah.
Don Baker. Don Baker will be talking about memes. Okay. This, I am sad to announce, is expected to be Vic Farrow's last show as a regular co-host.
Yeah. Unfortunately, life is kicking in, and, you know, now that I'm married and doing that domestic thing, and I have a job.
Pager.
I have a what?
You have a pager.
I have a pager, yeah. I have a job with a pager. Yeah. Don't ever get one of those, people.
So they've just got you on a tight leash, and Saturdays are not going to work out for you very much?
Well, we've lost some staff where I am, and now our on-call status has changed, and now I have to do it more often.
Yeah.
And so that leaves very little time, and it takes some time to prepare for this and be out here on time, and I just don't have that kind of time anymore.
Well, you've done great, and we've appreciated you being part of the show, and you're, of course, welcome back anytime you want to.
I'll make periodic appearances again. I just don't have the time to do the regular routine.
Yeah.
And it would be better just to get somebody here who can.
Bill, you up for it?
I'm here.
And we're recruiting volunteers. And that's the first guy along the street, all right?
Well, I think the current plan is going to be to let Karen give it a shot, see if that works out with her new job, and then we'll just see from there.
You know, jobs, those pesky damn things?
I know.
Yeah.
If I could just get rid of that, I'd have all kinds of time.
If people just stop employing us, we could do this show more regularly.
Well, maybe not.
They could pay us to do the show.
Hey, there's an idea.
Now, there is actually, did you read Michelle's email to the group about the humanist grants that are available now?
Yes, that's great.
And we have gotten some email lately from listeners saying, how come you guys don't do this as a professional deal? Mm-hmm. I'm going to suggest that we write in a proposal, see if we can get some of that grant money and do like a real audio show.
That would be
cool.
Wonderful.
Now, as opposed to a real audio show. All right, but that's in the future, and we'll see.
Yeah. Well, give me a paid position, and I can come back.
You bet.
Well, there's that.
And no pager.
And I'm all for that.
We'd give you a pager for the radio show, so we can always find you no matter where you are.
I have a cell phone, I'd be all right.
There you go.
If I could ever, if I ever get the opportunity to lose this particular job, I'm going to take this pager, I'm going to chuck it as far as I can.
Well,
preferably into something solid.
We will see what we can do, Vic. ACA board meetings take place at 10 a.m. right before our regular meeting on the second Sunday of every month. That'll be next weekend. Mm-hmm. If you shop at the Randall's food store chain, you can give them our nonprofit organization number, 5158, and 1% of your purchase will be donated to the Atheist Community of Austin. The Godless Gamers meet every Monday night at 7 p.m. here at Glasser Studios. ACA Happy Hour is at Antonio's near Highway 35 and 183, Thursday nights at 7:30. For more information, you can call our voicemail at area code 512-371-2911 or visit the website www.atheist-community.org. Well, I'm happy to announce we did manage to finally return from Costa Rica, though as we suspected we were not able to make it back last weekend.
Right.
Lucky we made it back at all.
We got to the airport, we crashed through the forests onto the tarmac just as in time to see our plane taken off, and
that Jeep with the big gun mounted on it, that was making me kind of nervous.
Yeah, but we were lucky we ran into those people.
Well, yeah, okay, it turned out for the best, but on first sight, it was like, oh, crap.
Yeah, well.
It was an awful big machine gun.
It turned out they didn't have any ammunition. And also, strangely enough, I managed to attend a science fiction convention last weekend also.
Yeah.
In Little Rock, Arkansas. And the most amusing thing about this science fiction convention, where
besides the fact that it was in the jungle?
Besides the fact that I was in two places at once. And one of them was Little Rock, Arkansas.
Where there is no jungle.
It was held in this Hyatt hotel.
Was it the Jungle Hyatt?
No, Little Rock, Arkansas.
I know.
Get your mind out of the jungle.
You lose so much blood to those mosquitoes and you get a little dizzy.
Yeah. But we've got some good science-related news. But we'll talk about that later.
That actually make that better.
I got my story of my convention to do. What was the amusing thing was that the science fiction convention was taking place in the hotel at the same time as a Christian educators conference.
Now, Christian educator, isn't that an oxymoron?
I would call that an oxymoron. But the hotel was just littered with these floor-to-ceiling color banners of little boys with crew cuts in little suits, all clutching little Bibles, smiling. And it's all about how this Christian education movement thingy that they were doing was Bible-based. And
did they have that believer glaze in their eyes?
Yeah. Oh, it was. You could pick them out. Of course, it's not really that hard. Science fiction fan, science fiction fan, Christian educator, science fiction fan, Christian educator, Christian educator. I mean, but basically anybody in a suit that looked like it was from the 1960s was a Christian educator.
Yeah. That sounds very sci-fi in and of itself.
That's serious religion glaze.
Wow. So, and there were a lot of those people, and they were intermingling with the science fiction fans in a really strange way.
Well, that might have been a good thing.
But they didn't really attend the science fiction convention. Here's what I saw of their reaction to the sci-fi. They had me at a table near the door of the dealer room, which at a science fiction convention is where they have these tables set up for different people selling weird jewelry or T-shirts or bumper stickers or books or videotapes or art or whatever, right?
Yeah.
I was at a table near the door to the dealer room, and at one point this guy pokes his head in, and the guy was like a dead ringer for Jerry Falwell.
Ooh.
Weird.
Okay? I mean, he had the right number of chins and everything.
Wow.
And he has this like kind of sick grin. What?
Stop with the bang.
I'm sorry, am I banging the table? He had this kind of weird grin on his face, and he looks at it and says, "What is all this?" And somebody says, "Science fiction convention." Oh, okay. I was wondering how all these things went together. He sort of nodded and smiled to himself and left, right? Well, that was fine. Then, a little while later, this lady comes in, and she's clutching a stack of Jack Chick tracts.
Oh, no.
Okay, and I could only see the spines, but they were the right size, and they were all different colors and stuff. She was clutching them. She had this weird death grip. Like she had like a twisted arm holding these things under her armpit.
Like a claw.
Like cuddling them in a weird...
First chick tracks, then armpit. Those things.
So she comes in, and I'm there with my art that I've worked on in a book people can page through to see my illustrations. And there's some comics that I've worked on and games that I've worked on, and it's all laid out there as like a display for people to look at. And she comes up and she pages through the art and says, "Oh, so you drew all this?" "Yes." "You enjoy your work?" "Yeah, I do." "You draw these comic books?" "Yeah." And so she asked these really innocuous questions for a while. Then she comes out with, "You ever heard of the Chronicles of Narnia?" They said, "Yeah," and I bit my tongue and I did not say yeah. And when I was 14, it pissed me off when I got to the last book and realized that this thing I thought was just a cool fantasy adventure was in fact a calculated attempt to Christianize me.
Really? It took you that long?
Yeah, I was very naive.
Okay.
At that time. So that was basically it. Oh no, then she asked about role playing, because I have role playing game books that I was in.
Did she offer you a copy of Dark Dungeon?
No, she didn't. She didn't. But she asked what that was, and a couple other people came forward because this was attracting some attention by now, and they volunteered analogies for what role playing is like. Like across the aisle from me, there was this other guy with his comic, and a girl that was working with him who's also in theater, and she said, "Well, it's kind of like improvisational theater." And another guy says, "It's kind of like like Cowboys and Indians, except you roll dice to see if you shot the Indian or not. And that's fine. She just sort of listened to that and nodded her head kind of suspiciously and walked off, right? And said, she says, I'm going to look at the rest of the room.
Was she still clutching her
track? So then those folks that commented sort of stood around my table for a while, and we had a little chat about religion. Yeah. And then she came back, right? And took her, good 20 minutes or so to go check out everything in the room. And she comes back, mumbles something under her breath, which one of the other people identified for me as the phrase, here's something that you might want to think about. And she left off some tracts. But she didn't let go of the Jack Chick ones. These were like little slips of paper about the size of a standard business card, folded once, thin paper, glossy both sides, color printing, right?
Weird.
And each of us got one. And then she was out the door. And I think she calculated this to leave these things at the place where she had the quickest exit, so she wouldn't have to hear what we had to say about her views. And the one that the girl who was the theater student got had this optical illusion in it, and some little comments about how many things in life are just illusionary, but God is real. And I didn't even look at mine. She said that the girl said, "Oh well, I'm going to be playing a religious fanatic in the next play that I'm in, so this will be good research material." I said, "Fine, you can have mine too."
Yeah.
And that was basically it for the direct connection between the Christian educators and the science fiction con. But leaving the dealer's room that night, one of the big meeting halls that they have at the hotel, there was booming sounds of a revival meeting coming out of there. You'd think that if they were going to if Christian educators were going to meet, they would be talking about education. But no, it seemed like they were pretty much pep-talking one another about ain't it great to work for Jesus. And the next morning they had another church service in the same room, but this one sounded more like a Sunday school kind of happy, smiling Jesus songs. So that was that, but, so I was feeling a little creeped out by that, but something happened on the flight back to Austin from Little Rock that kind of made my spirits rise a bit. I was sitting there, and, first, in the pocket in the seat in front of me, I found these printouts from the web, because you could see the header thing that your Netscape will put on there if you print a web page from there. And one was about just Richard Nixon's career, and the other one was about the Watergate hearings. And in with them was a newspaper page with an in-depth analysis of Bush's efforts to get us into war with Iraq.
Oh, yeah.
And so I'm thinking, somebody who was sitting in this chair was trying to put, two and two together and see what they got.
See if they could get Rick Nixon's involvement in Vietnam as an analogy to Bush trying to get into
Yeah, I'm not sure, but clearly they were looking for dirt. I don't know what that was all about, and they were gone. I couldn't ask them. But then I overheard this conversation from the seat behind me.
Yeah.
There's a little boy sitting back there with his mom, and there was no particular reason to pay attention to him, but then I happened to overhear the mom saying to the little boy, "Oh, yeah, that's Fidel Castro. He's another one of our favorite enemies." and the little boy goes, "Does America hate everybody?"
Yeah.
And the mom's response was, "Yeah, pretty much." So I was pleased to notice that still in our country we have people that have their thinking caps on.
Well, I don't know if it surprises anybody else, but I find our president's anxious nature trying to get us into this war a little disturbing.
I picked up the newspaper this morning when I went out for breakfast, and I read the latest story. Yeah, it was the Austin American Statesman, and the latest story is the CIA has come out with a report about how dangerous Iraq is, right? And Bush is, of course, waving this around. I read the entire article. In the entire article it says, maybe he's got chemical weapons, and he might be able to make a nuclear weapon if he gets atomic material. You can say this about Canada, right? You could say this about Belgium.
Say it's about high school science classes.
There was nothing there. There was nothing specific. Not a thing. And I would, I'm very creeped out by the idea that we're going to become guys who attack first, right? But I could probably be talked into thinking that that's the right way to behave if there was clear, undisputable evidence that if we didn't do something else terrible was going to happen. And I'm just not seeing that evidence. Where the hell is it?
Have you seen The Onion this week?
No.
Top headline. In an address before the UN General Assembly Monday, President Bush called upon the international community to support his U.S. does whatever it wants plan. Which would permit the U.S. to take any action it wishes anywhere in the world at any time.
Yeah. If you had a clear thing like, remember the Cuban Missile Crisis. We had actual pictures of missiles sitting there in Cuba.
Yeah.
We knew they were going to be launched at us, or at least targeted at us.
But you know what the astonishing thing about that is? We still didn't frickin' attack them.
No, we didn't.
We blockaded them. We blockaded them, and it worked out.
We sent ships to meet the Russian ships halfway and said, look, turn back or we fire.
Now,
they decided to turn back.
If our current president has just not got the diplomatic skill to avert a catastrophe, a potential catastrophe like the Cuban Missile Crisis, right? Mm-hmm. Diplomatically, with a blockade, right? If our current president isn't up to that, whose fault is that?
That's half of America who voted for us.
That's exactly right.
Well,
our problem here is not that sanctions aren't working. The problem is sanctions are not working because Bush doesn't want them to work. Bush wants to have a war. Bush wants to go in there and beat up the guy that embarrassed his daddy.
If it were Bush saying, there's this thing in Iraq, and we were concerned that he might have weapons, and as bad as this might be, we may have to go to war. But that's not what we're getting from him. We're getting from is we need to conquer this man now. Mm-hmm. He's a little too anxious to go to war, and that disturbs me. I don't want a president who looks at going to war with an eager gleam in his eye.
Right.
I want him to be reserved, and actually the last possible measure would be going to war.
Well, just to play counter-argument here a minute, I mean, what if the evidence that they have is something classified that they can't release for national security?
If he's trying to convince the American population that he needs to go to war, he needs to reveal that.
Yeah, I can't imagine what the information could be.
The smoking gun.
Why, what would be our motive for keeping Saddam Hussein's secrets for him?
Yeah. If he's got
right.
Well, I mean,
if it's classified, and you're saying maybe it's something strategic
that we know about. I don't know.
Like what?
I don't know.
What could there possibly
be? For example, maybe. Okay, there are numerous articles written about how Bush knew more about September 11th before September 11th happened.
Yeah,
and again, those accusations are pretty vague in and of themselves.
I'm very willing to put that failure down to incompetence.
Yeah, but speaking in terms of that, maybe the evidence we have is something similar. Something vague, but something that they feel is potent enough to be worthwhile to go to war over. And now what that thing might be, I don't know. But again, in other words, it might be something that they don't want to release because they know that if they do,
the only reason I could think of that they won't release the evidence that there's these biological or potential nuclear weapons is because it would lead them back to finding out that it was the American government that actually provided them with the materials.
Huh.
Because remember, when we were all bitter at Iran, Iraq was over there trying to kick their ass. We were all in favor of Saddam Hussein going over there and bombing.
We gave him the gun, but we didn't want him to shoot anybody with it.
Not at us.
Hey, I'm sorry if it's embarrassing. Big deal.
Yeah, I don't really
want. If they want my support for going to war, Me personally, I need to see some reason why we need to do that.
I need to see a reason why going to war is the only option.
Right.
And this is what Bush is pushing. It's
and
the only option.
And he's not presented that case.
No,
at all.
And Bush is a redneck geek. All right, I've worked for people like this. Look at his eyes when he talks, and you can see what I'm talking about. He has that just.
Fool me once.
That kind of redneck geekiness.
You can't fool me again.
This is the kind of person you just don't trust.
Yeah.
And
half of our nation does trust him. No, excuse me. Let me rephrase that. About 80% of our nation trusts him because they're the people signing up the frickin' polls saying, "Yeah, hell yeah, let's go and attack Iraq."
Well, in the words of his father, Pole schmoles.
All right, let's move on. We got actual news stories about that we'll get to later. Here's some Atheist Community of Austin news event announcements.
Yeah.
We have the Bull Creek Park cleanup here in Austin. We did that last year. The next one is on October 12 from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. That's next Saturday.
Next Saturday.
Just show up at Bull Creek, and we'll have an atheist contingent there helping clear brush and move rocks and stuff. It's actually very rewarding. Because you know that people will go to that park then and have a nicer time because they won't have to smash through undergrowth.
I think I've rode my bicycle in Bull Creek, the Bull Creek area.
Amanda and I may be able to do that, but of course I have to get here in time to do the show, so we'll only be there in the morning. On October 20 is the annual AIDS Walk here in Austin, starting at the state capitol, according to Michelle, but it hasn't started there before in the past. I would check to make sure where it's going to start.
It usually starts at Waterloo Park.
Where it has
one year it started at Woolridge.
Okay. Well, anyway, Michelle will know. And she is looking for people to officially sign up to be our marching team for that, which we have participated in every year for like the last 4 or 5 years or so.
Yeah.
I've been in about 3 of those marches, I think.
Yeah. Any instances of slurs, defamation, or discrimination against atheists or other non-believers in the U.S. media can
Take a stick and beat them mercilessly. No.
Now, just because this is your last regular show doesn't mean you can say any old stuff that comes into your head.
Why not?
No, they said you always were able to do that.
Okay.
You reported to the National Atheist Ombuds by emailing ombuds@atheism.org. Tell them who said what and where and when, and they will distribute that information to national and local non-theist organizations who will distribute press releases regarding the reported subject matter. Godless Americans will march on Washington. Vic and I are both going, along with Jeff Jones of the ACA. Michelle said she might. I haven't heard for sure one way or the other. Okay. As far as I know, that's our contingent now, right?
Right.
Us 3 or 4.
3 or 4, right.
But we got that all worked out.
I think we're on the same flight.
Yeah, us 3 guys are, and I don't know about Michelle's plans. And I called the American Atheists to talk about the arrangements. They got my name on a waiting list of speakers, so maybe I'll get to talk there. But hey, even if not, if all we do is we carry our ACA banner, it will be more than worth the trip.
Oh, yeah.
That's going to be on November 2. The website is www.godlessamericans.org. Now you can collect past episodes of this show, The Non-Prophets, and an audio version of our sister show, The Atheist Experience, which airs on public access television here in Austin, Texas, on a convenient CD. Each CD contains a full month's worth of audio from both shows in both QuickTime and MP3, plus extra surprises. The CDs are $5 each. Contact atheist@mac.com for info. Okay, now we got a big bunch of emails over the last couple of weeks. I guess people were just going nuts because they were afraid that we weren't going to make it back from the tropics. But Kenneth writes, "Great show. Thank you so much for taking the time to produce such an outstanding show. I listen to the archives regularly, having downloaded almost every show since number 21. Yeah, and of course, Kenneth, if you're out there listening, you can get shows before number 21 on those CDs. I was looking in the radio archive section and found that Saturday's show has not been posted. Has the show taken place, and if so, would you post it so that I and countless others can download it? Yeah, well, we didn't have a show because we were stuck in
Costa Rica.
And Little Rock.
And Little Rock.
Well, we did that split off,
Yeah.
Kenneth writes, I think I have gleaned that Jeff's mother is an ordained minister. I know I share much in common with many of you in that I came from a very religious family, and professing my atheism has made me a black sheep. My brother, who has a degree in general science education, has essentially thrown away the 5 years he worked his way through college to obtain the degree in favor of believing that the Earth is 6,000 or some odd years old.
No.
Listening to your lively debate gives me a different and maybe more subtle way in which to debate my brother and countless family members regarding this topic. You guys,
what fun that is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really get into it with my parents. Much as I wish I did. That's too painful.
Yeah.
You guys do such a great job on your show. I wonder if you could syndicate or something. Well, we were talking about maybe going after one of those grants to see if we could get an actual thing off the ground. He says, I bet you could get on local AM talk stations for your hour-and-a-half shows. I would love that. Yeah, but, we were just talking the other week about how talk radio is completely dominated by right-wing fundamentalists right now.
Conspiracy theorists.
Now, I don't
know why that is.
I don't know
because
if
they're putting forth the money, and it's an easy place, because you can get on those AM channels and on some version of FM channels where it's non-commercial. And they have a lot of money. They have a lot of money. In fact, there's a little loophole in the law that in Louisiana...
Have you heard them? I mean, I don't think they rely primarily on advertising, because after every damn show, you've got like them begging, won't you please send your donation so that you can help us stay on the air.
Right. Like that one South Park episode where they're trying to build the laser cannon for...
Now, folks, what we need is a proton laser to see the enemy ship has force fields and our...
and Dr. Laura sells stuff. Maybe we ought to start selling more stuff.
Well, we're going to look into that.
Some stuff first.
Yeah, that's true.
We're going to look into that and see what we can do. Dan wrote, Hey Non-Prophets, I really like your show. Good coverage, you are all smart, and I like your sense of humor. We're three smart fellers.
Three fart smellers.
Three fart smellers.
Three smart fellers. They felt smart. One smart feller, he felt smart. Two smart fellers, they felt smart. Three fart smellers. They all felt smart. Okay.
Yeah.
By the way, I thought you would like to know that I am an atheist and I worked on Warcraft 3 as well. That's cool.
We love that game.
I'm in the computer games industry working at a company called Asylum Soft on a massively multiplayer online role-playing game called Dransik. And you can find out more about that at www.dransik.com, DRANSIK. There's an open beta running right now, so anyone who wants to try it out can do that. He says, anywho, I'll keep listening. By the way, for some free thought-inspired music by me, check out www.mp3.com/nucleon. That's Nukleon. First and last N's are capitalized. A song which is highly critical of religion on my site is called Technology. Also, check out Infidel, a song I wrote after 9/11. I've listened to those songs. It's good stuff. I think we got a contact from him earlier about using some of his music for our opening for the show. And we have it in the list of things that we will consider. I'm actually starting to get down to the bottom of my list of CDs that are appropriate. But then we're doing more of our shows on the road, so but it's certainly something we are keeping in mind for the future, and it's good stuff. When it seems like it's the right time, we will do it. He says, I was also on the Infidel Guys show as the guest discussing the problem with agnosticism. I don't know if any of us caught that one, but of course Reggie's show is great, and I try to listen to all the episodes I can, but now that he doesn't keep them up there for free,
I know.
I guess I suppose I had to cough up my money and get access to his back episodes.
Yeah.
Or that.
Sorry, Reggie. Some of us are on a budget.
I know it.
Well, we're supporting though, and I suppose I'll do that.
Yeah.
Denis wrote, question about something. I don't have the original letter, but I have Russell's response. Russell said, there was no new show on Saturday. Unfortunately, we did manage to hack our way out of the jungle Sunday afternoon, and of course, by that time it was too late, but we're safely back to civilization now, so look for a new show this Saturday, which is now.
Yeah.
Denis writes, laugh out loud, yeah, okay, I believe every word of it. Next I'm going to accept Jesus as my Lord and Savior. I guess the baby crying in the background was the Jungle Boy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, how'd you know?
We brought an infant with us to Costa Rica.
Exactly.
Sure.
Worked out fine.
You know what? The mosquitoes did not eat him.
No.
I was like, rub the baby on me. It was something to rub off.
Yeah.
He says, also wanted to tell you about this creationist thing going on here in Georgia in Cobb County.
Oh, yeah.
Says, from what I hear from the actual school, they will not be teaching creationism. They have a press release on their website saying the media is trying to make it sound as if this is the case. As you know, this is the same school that has put stickers in science textbooks saying that evolution is a theory, not a fact, and should be approached with an open mind. You know, a theory can also be a fact. Those are not mutually exclusive things.
To have a theory.
That's apart from the fact that all these nitwits use the word theory wrong. Right? In just the general common usage rather than the scientific meaning of the term.
Yeah.
But here they're using it as the opposite of a fact. Mm-hmm. So are we now to say that, the theory of gravity is
not a fact
because it's a theory?
Yeah.
No, they can in fact be both. First, though, learn what theory actually means.
It's just a way to remain ignorant.
He says, the one problem that still exists is that it isn't exactly clear what their position on evolution itself. They say that, well, yeah, because they're using words in ways that don't make any sense. He says, they say that the new policy requires that we acknowledge a diversity of opinion without watering down discussion of factual evidence supporting different scientific theories. Yeah, what does that exactly mean? Isn't critical examination of the facts what happens in the science classroom? Acknowledging and studying aren't really the same thing, so it seems to me this leaves room for interpretation. Well, yeah, that is exactly why they're doing it. Mm-hmm. They're softening the standards by pretending that they're being open-minded. No, excuse me, there is only one scientific theory about the origin of species. Mm-hmm. There is only one. There are contenders, but they have not shown that they are scientific. Mm-hmm. Anyway.
I really like your parallel argument about the theory of gravity. I mean, it's really the same thing.
Yeah. You know, just a couple days ago, I ran into something really cool on the American Atheist website, which was a debate between Frank Zindler and Duane Gish of the Creation Institute, one of the many creation institutes.
Was it streaming audio, or was it a transcript?
No, it was a transcript with a lot of footnotes by Zindler afterwards saying, look how I caught him here, stuff like that. What was particularly interesting about this debate was that creationists, you know, often when you try to debate them, and Gish is a young earther, this was like before they even had intelligent design nonsense. But, you know, creationists will often try to attack evolution and not try to present any scientific evidence for creation. And so what Zindler did as a condition for the debate was he said that the topic has to be, is creationism scientific? That would focus on trying to get positive evidence. And so Gish came out and said, well, first of all, you know, you can't really call either creationism or evolution, you know, really scientific because it's about the past. And he said, okay, this is going to be a short debate because he's already conceded my point. So now that we agree that creation is non-scientific, let's discuss why.
It is I don't think many people realize how absolutely critical it is to get good ground rules for your debate, a well-phrased question to debate over. Right, and get the rules all spelled out. When I was hanging out with the University Skeptical Society at the University of Texas, and we got into a debate with some Christians, it was an actual, university debate in using their auditorium and stuff. They weaseled so much to try to turn the debate into something they could win. Right? I mean, they went from, what is the evidence for and against evolution? Right? Mm-hmm. From something like that to, is Christianity reasonable? That was what they wanted to debate. So they could make it all, soften the whole issue so it's more a matter of opinion.
I'm sure you could soften that question a little bit. Is it reasonable? That depends on reason. Mm-hmm. Your version of reason.
Right. But they wanted to muddy the issue. They wanted to take the focus off of hard facts and put it in the realm of personal opinion. And
debate
you really gotta, if anybody listening out there is in a group that's thinking about debating Christians,
be careful.
Dig in your heels. Do not let them get away with that crap. They will poison the debate before you even start by making it take place in their territory. Okay, be extremely careful about that. One last email from Mr. Thorne, Religion in the News. September was a good month for religion in the news. An American bishop was nominated to be the first electronic saint. Satan was barred from prison. A boy possessed by demons was shot to death by police. Scientists explained important aspects of Jewish genes. Surveyors found that the Bible Belt had moved north. A French author was taken to court for his remarks about the IQ of Islam, and Jerry Falwell had some new neighbors, devout sinners. That's the gay couple that lived across the street from the church. Get all the details at, I guess this is his website, www.mrthorne.org/news/. SEP_2002.htm, and that is actually a pretty good collection of news items from the month of September. Thank you, Mr. Thorne. And that, by the way, I went to his personal website. Apparently, Mr. is his first name.
Huh.
And there's a little interesting story about how that came to be. So there we go. That's our glorious mailbag for this month.
Give him the website so you can put it on the
once again, that website is www.mrthorne, M-I-S-T-E-R, spelled out, .org/news/SEP_2002.htm. And that's, Russell was typing that into the chat log, so those listening to this show can go look that up.
I want to make sure they don't get...
Yeah, the word news is caps, and the SEP is caps.
Thanks to everybody for writing in. We really appreciate your comments.
We really do. It's nice to know that we're being listened to. And it's much harder on an internet audio show to get a sense of... You'd think that because you'd know how many connections you have, that you know how many listeners you have, but it's not. I mean,
not that
somebody logs in for 5 seconds and disconnects. You really don't know whether that's a listener.
Yeah.
Somebody gets their connection broken 6 times. 24. We have 24 people listening live right now. But over the course of the show, we've got Russell got some statistics on downloads from the
I got something new because I'm also the webmaster, and for the first time this month, I received a letter from our web hosting service saying that we've gone over our traffic limit for the month.
Wow.
That doesn't mean we're going to go down. It just means that they're going to charge us more money, and we have to figure out whether we want to keep paying them more money or reduce the archives or something. But clearly it's we're going over our traffic limit because all of you folks are downloading and listening to the shows, and that's not really a bad thing.
Yeah, we love that. We love that. And
so I checked.
Tell your friends to do it.
Checking our web traffic over the last few weeks, I found that people are downloading the equivalent of 180 of our shows every week.
Wow.
Here's a nice thing you can do. When you compose the .sig for your emails, feel free to put in a link to Atheist Network or to our website where we have the archives of shows, and distribute that as during the normal course of your email transactions, because getting the word out there gets more listeners, and that feels great.
It's closer to the
Shameless plug.
Exactly.
Okay, now on to the actual news. And Mary, would you please start with the act that had just failed in Congress?
I sure will.
That we should all need to be happy about?
I sure will. Let's see.
Wait, that was you, right? Or was that Vic?
That was me.
That was Vic. I'm sorry, Vic. Why don't you do that?
Well, we have good news. The House of Representatives on October the 2nd have rejected a bill that would have let religious leaders talk freely about politics without endangering the organization's tax-exempt status. This is H.R. 2357.
Yay!
The bill, which caused splits in the religious community and inside the Republican Party, yay, was defeated on a 239 to 178 vote.
That's a healthy margin.
Yes.
That there were 178 people in our government that thought this was a good idea is still extremely scary.
I agree.
I mean, if there was one, I would say be extraordinarily frightened of that individual.
Here's one individual you can be extraordinarily frightened of.
All right.
Representative Walter Jones, a Republican from North Carolina, has told the lawmakers that he will try again next year.
You go right ahead and do that, Wally.
Yeah. Today we took a very important step towards bringing freedom of speech back to our pulpits. From the first day of the 108th Congress, I will continue this fight because I believe this battle can be won and will be won. Congress must first return First Amendment freedoms to our houses of worship.
But wait a minute. Those houses of worship.
I've been to North Carolina. I'm not really doing it right. Okay.
Good.
I had trouble understanding these people.
Whatever it was, though, it was consistent. That's worth a lot. But see, those houses of worship get special tax exemptions because they are supposed to be not involved, among other things, right? One of the trade-offs is you don't get involved in politics. That's the trade-off. The Atheist Community of Austin is also a non-profit organization, right? Yeah. You don't get directly involved in politics. We do not tell you who to vote for. We do tell you our impressions of the guys that are there, but, I'll happily tell you Joe Lieberman is a frickin' retard as much as I will tell you that Pat Robertson is. Bad example. Tom DeLay is, right? Republican or Democrat, I don't care. If you think that what we need is more religion in government, then I'm going to criticize you. But I won't tell you who to vote for. I won't collect money for candidates. I won't have our organization donate money to candidates. That's not allowed, right?
The prohibition on political activity was imposed in 1954 by Congress on all 501c3 tax-exempt organizations under an amendment offered by then-Senator Lyndon Johnson. Before that, religious leaders were freely involved in political debates.
Yes.
Most Americans do not want their churches turned into smoke-filled rooms where political deals are cut and partisan politics replaces worship, said the Reverend Barry Lynn, the executive director for the Americans United for the Separation of Church and State. The issue did divide lawmakers. A Republican Christopher Shays from Connecticut said that the bill would erode the separation of church and state, a bedrock value of our nation. Representative John Lewis, a Democrat from Georgia, said if this legislation is allowed to pass or stand, you could have a minister coming to the pulpit saying, "Vote for so-and-so because God told me." The bill is supported. The bill's supporters are the Christian Coalition, Family Research Council, the Association of Christian Schools International, and it says it's opposed by other organizations, but they didn't list those.
Hey, it is just not a limitation on your free speech when you are getting something in return. Right? It is a trade. It's not a restriction on free speech. If you don't want to trade your political involvement, your overt political involvement, for tax-exempt status, then don't become a 501c3 tax organization. Your choice.
Let me ask you this. Do you think it would be considered politicking if our group investigated who started that bill and who voted for it? Just to post that within our group.
No, you can.
That's not politics. Politics is saying, don't vote for this guy, vote for that guy.
Well, in a way, that's what we'd be doing, is we'd be saying, don't vote for this guy because he favored this bill.
Presenting of facts is completely above board.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right?
I can't say that, as the Atheist Community of Austin supports so-and-so as the political candidate for this race in this campaign.
Right. It is, for example, legal for churches to distribute voter guides.
Okay.
That is legal.
That did get the Christian quote.
But they got into trouble because they distributed partisan voter guides. That is what you cannot do.
Okay.
So you can tell people, you can say, here's their voting record.
Who's voting, their record,
Yeah, you can do all that.
Okay.
That is not restricted at all.
Somewhat of a fine line, but then again, not really. I mean,
it's kind of the same way. When we were doing the cable access show on Access Television, there are non-commercial limitations, and you got to be careful how you phrase things.
Right.
You can have supporters, and you can announce those supporters, but you can't commercialize. It's really a touchy situation.
And in fact, to be really specific, our show here, this, I think we probably could get away with being political. I mean, with literally saying we support this candidate.
Vote for
because while we say we are sponsored by the Atheist Community of Austin, we've never actually received a dime from that organization.
I thought we did for our equipment.
Did we?
For our equipment.
There has been a vote in the board of directors saying we could have some money.
Well, anyway,
that piece of hardware cost us some money.
Yeah.
Was that money, or was that the donation from Wendy? Huh?
I bought that off Paul for $70.
Yeah, and then you got reimbursed because we also have 150 that was donated by Wendy. I think it was 150 that was donated directly to the show.
Yeah.
All right, so it's a little questionable, but we could sever those ties if we wanted to, and we could make this
be
show
self-supporting.
But then we wouldn't have as many listeners. No one would not listen to us anymore.
Yeah. Well, why would we not?
Well, you become partisan, and you're going to...
You think there's people out there? I would be interested in email responses from our listeners about that. I mean, if we were more... if we got just 5% more specific about what we think about who's good candidates and who's not.
Well, for example, if we were endorsing Democrats, libertarians might feel alienated.
Yeah. Good question. All right. Anyway, we'll think about that. I'm not really suggesting that we're going to do that, but
it would just be an interesting question.
But we're exploring the story. Why don't you go on, Vic? Is there more?
All right. Well, there's this very disturbing story about the ex-nun, the 78-year-old former nun, Lucille Paulin, who was charged with assault.
Is that her?
That's
There's
her.
a picture here, folks.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
She's an old woman.
With a shawl.
She's
a hideous old bag is what she is.
Charged with assault.
But she could be a very nice person.
Yeah, no.
Doesn't sound like it.
Not even close to her.
Yeah.
What'd she do?
During her testimony during her trial.
Wait, what's she accused of?
She's charged with aggravated child assault.
Yeah.
I believe it was aggravated child
This
assault.
is in the context of the cult that she runs in Canada.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's in Canada?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Canadian press.
Charlotte.
She's in her trial. She's quoted as saying that the little darlings, referring to the 5 kids who were accusing her, were lying when they accused her of beating them often and without mercy. They are wicked and have been seduced by Satan to enjoy worldly pleasures. Paulin never wavered. Yeah, and she did this with a straight face. With a straight face. She never wavered in her testimony that the punishments that she inflicted upon the children as young as 6 and 7 years old with a heavy wooden rod were legitimate corrections to keep her charges on the path to heaven. She says, I'm still human, and it was difficult for me to hit the little darlings, but I had to overcome that to obey God.
She had to overcome her humanity to do what she thought God wanted her to do. There you have it, folks.
She insisted that she had done nothing wrong, no matter what the laws of man say or decide. God told her to use the rod, and she will obey God's word before any other law. She said she would not change her ways if another child came into her care.
So her defense comes down to, I didn't do it, and besides, God told me it was okay.
Yeah, she says, once you obey God, you go free regardless of what others do to you.
I'd like to see her have a new career as a stand-up comic and say that same thing.
I'd like to see her with a heavy stick.
Yeah.
There you go. On the way to the trial, some reporters asked her if she had anything to say, and she started to sing a hymn about the victory of God. And she was joined by several of her followers who think she is a prophet.
Sickening!
The 5 children who testified against said Paulin would fly off into fits of rage, chase them around the house, and beat them repeatedly with a rod.
Fits of rage?
Fits of rage.
Religious people never go into fits of rage.
Beating hundreds of times, sometimes so hard they would almost black out.
No.
The children accused Paulin of gross misbehavior, including tainting their food with human excrement and possibly poisoning them.
Ew.
Paulin says they're lying out of measure. It's almost insanity. No, Mrs. Paulin, you're the one who's full-blown insane.
Beating children because invisible voice tells you to.
Yeah, Does she have a copy of Shepherding a Child's Heart on her bookshelf?
Well, her commune believes that you should. Do away with worldly pleasures and follow only God, to the point of there were adults in her group, including several married couples, who decided to live separately as eunuchs.
Ew.
What?
Eunuchs. I mean, people who are married, they do not have sex anymore.
No. Eunuchs means your testicles get cut off.
So it's quoted. I don't know what she meant, what context she was saying that.
I'm sure. I don't think that word means what she thinks it means.
Just kind of like theory doesn't mean what she thinks it means.
So, in addition to beating children,
one child died in 1999 of what they say is natural causes.
Well, that may well be the case.
But several other children made a daring escape to get away from the group where love and parental affection are discouraged in favor of devotion to God.
So not only the actual, in and out kind of love, but also parental love,
parental guidance. A mother kissing her child would be something sinful and against God. And she says, we decided to stop all this mushy, fleshy stuff of love. in front of people, she says this.
I'm telling you, she's missing her calling as a stand-up comic.
I don't know what she looked like, 50 years ago, but
she's the wicked old hag witch.
Now she's a wicked old hag that's probably pissed off.
Yuck.
Nobody wants to have that with her anyway.
That's just very disturbing. But
okay, very important safety tip. Don't stop being nice to one another. You know?
idea.
Good grief.
And
crazy.
Now
Including
as sad as that particular story was, being that children were beaten and you have this cult.
Yeah.
There are other cults out there.
Yes,
one of them.
Yes, there are, but you just did one. We're moving on to somebody else.
Okay, we can do that.
That way we have this back and forth of different stories.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm just going to hog the show on my last episode. Nothing you can do about it. Yeah.
You just did 2 stories, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Well, all right.
I allow you another turn.
Yeah. You get a dispensation.
Protest of school satanic club a flop. This is from San Mateo, California. Police came to San Mateo High School Tuesday prepared to deal with a rally of parents protesting the school's backing of a club based on Satanism. But the officers milling around the school's Performing Arts Center were left with nothing to do. While the new club, called the Satanic Thought Society, has received nationwide attention, there's been little brouhaha locally over the group started by 2 10th graders who just wanted to stir up controversy and study an alternative religion. So as far as I can tell from the story, the students are not actually Satanists.
No.
They just thought, let's have a club to study a religion. What would be an interesting religion to study?
Okay,
Well, Satanism,
If they
sure.
just wanted to stir up controversy, then that would have been the one to pick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, people are going to get upset when you start bringing...
Well, hang on. The school is actually backing them. Hang on.
Huh.
Parent Pam Cachet organized the lunch hour rally expecting 50 people to show up in an effort to dismantle the club devoted to the study of the teachings of Anton Loubet, founder of the Church of Satan. Cachet was stunned to find no one picketing. The club, however, is receiving attention throughout the country. An article about the club appeared in the Times on Friday, and was posted on the nationally known website The Drudge Report. Since then, the Times has received more than 100 emails from all over the country. Cachet has been contacted by news people from MSNBC and the Fox News Network.
Which should tell you about the seriousness of this story.
Yeah. She says she plans to send her daughter to another school because of the club.
And that's her privilege.
Bitch, I'm sorry. I think Satanism is stupid.
Yeah, it is
Right?
stupid.
I think it's extremely stupid. But it's not against the law.
Nope.
These people have a right to study. If they wanted to be Satanists, they'd have a right to do that.
That's right.
They just wouldn't have a right to use the school to promote their religious views any more than you are. You know? I mean,
See, but if they were having a Christian organization, she wouldn't have a trouble
Wouldn't have a problem with that.
Right.
That's fine.
Not at all.
they say they are not practicing rituals, Cachet said. Not yet. When you start choosing to worship darkness, there's something wrong there.
You've got to read that like Ned Flanders.
I was thinking if he was from California, that should be more like a Valley Girl voice.
Yeah.
You know,
They say I'm not practicing ritual.
Oh my God.
When you start choosing to worship darkness, there's something wrong there. I'm not sure that was so much Valley Girl as like, you know. Whatever.
Whatever.
But it's a festival of accents today on the Atheist Experience.
I kind of think of the principal secretary from Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Oh, yeah.
I don't remember.
Oh, Ned.
Yeah.
Or whatever his name is.
You
Oh,
sounded
Ned.
just like Dirty Harry when
Yeah.
you said that.
San Mateo Union High School District Superintendent.
Righteous dude.
Yeah.
Let me finish up the story. San Mateo Union High School's District Superintendent Tom Moore, as well as the club's founders, have said it is not about devil worship.
There's some other Satanist groups. They say it's not about devil worship. It's about...
It's not, if you look it up.
Yeah.
That's why we have Satanists that want to march in the Godless March.
Yeah.
That'll be interesting. No, I think it's...
Yeah, as a matter of fact,
I don't
think there was a real Satanism until recently when it just formed as a way to piss off Christians.
Yeah, Anton Loubet wrote a book, and now he's all popular.
But, just wanting to piss some people off is still not a good reason to form an organization. I mean, atheist groups that I know of were not founded to annoy Christians.
No.
Right? We were founded because this is what we actually think about stuff.
Yeah.
And, Satanism, I understand the whole thing. No, they don't really believe there's a Satan. It's just a icon that they talk around. But, I think you can have perfectly reasonable discussion about stuff without bringing in
any icon.
Yeah, the losing bad guy character from some other nitwit's religion.
Yeah.
Why would you even bring that up? I don't get it.
Unless you take it about as seriously as, like, the Landover Baptist Church.
Yeah, no, I've been to say this website. They take it more seriously than that.
And
they take it seriously as like a philosophical position. And again, I just don't see why they need the guy. It's the existence of the guy character, the Satan guy, that throws me. I don't understand the point.
Speaking of Arkansas, there was a big hysteria regarding Satanism back in the late 90s, where these 3 young boys in high school were convicted of killing 3 really little boys, who were 8 years old.
Yeah.
This happened in West Memphis, Arkansas. And the West Memphis 3, as they're now known, there's a website, wm3.org, if you want to read more about this. But these kids are now serving prison time for murdering these little boys, and there was no evidence that they ever did any of the crimes. There was also a documentary. No, they had read about Anton Loubet, and they wore black, and so this town said, "Oh, well, they must have done it. It must have been them." Right. And it was just total mass hysteria. It's very disturbing, and anyway, I strongly recommend the documentary too. There was Paradise Lost, which was the first one, and then a follow-up to it called Revelations. Very good documentaries. Excellent.
On a completely different topic, and again, harkening back to our trip to Costa Rica.
Yeah.
Anybody get malaria while we were there?
No. I managed to avoid malaria.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I don't feel sick.
I had some sniffles.
Yeah.
Really? Is that malaria?
No, I think
more serious.
I think it's more serious
than sniffles.
We did bring a lot of mosquito netting and stuff, but still, malaria is a serious problem down in that part of the world.
Well,
and
maybe not now.
Mary, you've got a story on that.
There's big news this week, folks.
I'm really getting good at linking these things
You
together.
are. This is from USA Today. An international team of scientists has achieved a breakthrough that is expected to lead to the prevention and treatment of one of the world's 3 leading causes of death. You guessed it, malaria.
Really?
Yes.
One of the top 3?
Yes.
I wouldn't have thought it. I would have thought that tuberculosis was still on that list, but
I know. I wouldn't have either. It says, though, that malaria ranks
I would
with
have thought
AIDS,
cigarettes, car accidents,
cancer,
and ritual killings by Satanists. No?
In that order. Yeah, actually, malaria ranks with AIDS and tuberculosis as one of humankind's leading killers. Considered a tropical disease, malaria is spreading to temperate zones, including the U.S. Hey, watch out when you go on the Godless Americans March. There has been a case of malaria reported in D.C.
In Washington, D.C. I'm much more concerned about the white van full of shooters.
Yeah.
Right now.
And we live
I'm a little more concerned about that.
We live here on the Gulf Coast where we now have West Nile virus.
Yeah, fun. They even have that in Illinois now.
Also transmitted by mosquitoes.
Yeah. Unfortunately, no word on a cure about that.
No, if we have their gene or their genetic structure, let's find a way to destroy them utterly.
Yeah.
Oh.
Come on, give me one good reason why we should keep mosquitoes.
As long as we set up a mosquito preserve somewhere.
No. Just like we had killed off a disease.
No, here's a good reason to keep them. Bats eat them by the pounds.
Well, they're not eating enough.
Well, there are just so many of them.
Yeah. We need more bats.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bats are cute. Mosquitoes are not.
No.
Okay. Go ahead, Mary.
Well, the Malaria Genome Project is being led by the Wellcome Trust Sanger Institute in the United Kingdom and has built on ground broken by the Human Genome Project, which has worked out most of the human genetic code over the past decade. Basically, a genome is the genetic instruction manual for any organism, similar to a manual containing the binary code for a computer program. With the human genome in hand, scientists for the first time have the genetic manuals for the 3 key elements of the disease transmission, namely, for the cause of the disease, the transmitter, and the human host. Quote, this research gives us a major technological advantage that we didn't have before that opens the door, unquote, to developing ways of preventing, diagnosing, and treating. This is according to Anthony Falusi, director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases. Scientists also compared the genomes of the mosquito and fruit fly in order to study gene function. They then determined the full genome of a parasite that causes a malaria-like disease in rodents and compared the genomes of the human and rodent parasites. Finally, scientists discovered which genes are turned on and off during the human parasite's life cycle. This unprecedented amount of information will narrow searches for new drug targets and should uncover important vulnerabilities in the organism, says Neil Hall, director of the Malaria Genome Project.
Cool.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
Excellent.
See what we can accomplish when we set aside stupid-ass assumptions like, diseases are actually demonic infestations. That people used to believe that crap.
Yep.
I know.
And some still do.
And think if we were still saying, oh, well, just pray to get better from your malaria.
Yeah.
We can accomplish astonishing things.
We sure
with
can.
reason and the technology that lets us create.
We sure can. And hey, if you want to read more about it, go to Nature, and also work on the mosquito project appears in the journal Science. So check it out.
But instead of setting aside stupid-ass religious beliefs and superstitions in order to make way for scientific discoveries, we seem to be undergoing this big movement to go back to viewing things from superstitious perspectives.
Yep.
What country
I don't get it.
do you think is the least amenable to religion?
Is this a quiz?
I mean, on the entire planet. I know it's not the U.S. now.
Least amenable to religion.
I would guess.
Well,
I would have guessed.
Survey.
I would have guessed something like. See, I
would have said Australia.
I keep thinking about England, but I'm hearing that there's a big religious revival going on in Australia
with
right
the
now.
Jedis.
No, not that one. No, that one. I would have thought Britain, because I keep hearing about the Archbishop of Canterbury saying atheism
who's almost
France.
Yeah,
right.
France.
I think one of those places.
Well,
is that it?
No. According to a yet-to-be-released survey of 32 countries' attitudes towards religion, the country Denmark is the most negative towards religion. Often associating religion with conflict and intolerance, those questioned also suggested that the emergence of Islam as a volatile, negative force in the world has made a significant contribution to the way religion is perceived in Denmark. And this survey the questions were asked before 9/11, so had these asked after that, there's a guess that it might even be less. But on a scale with 100 as the highest negative rating, Denmark rated it 64. 10% more than the normally tolerant Norwegians, and 20% more than Holland, a country where we often compare with. Latvia and the U.S. rated as the countries most tolerant towards religious diversity. The Danes have a deep-rooted animosity towards religion and take themselves too seriously, especially Islam, says the author of the new report. Professor Horgan, or maybe Dorgan, I have no idea, Gul Anderson of Aalborg University, for us, religion is a very private affair. We may be quite willing to contribute to the church through our taxes, but inwardly we are cautious and reflective, and we don't want religion becoming a matter of public debate. The survey, along with the survey, also shows that nearly half the population has a strong aversion to Islam as a religion. Professor Anderson disputes the inference that this is linked to a general dislike of immigrants of Muslims. Our findings indicate that there is a widespread prejudice against Islam because it is a prime example of a restrictive religion, not because it is practiced by immigrants or asylum seekers.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting that they're talking about religions that take themselves too seriously. Because I think the idea of a religion that doesn't take itself too seriously is an oxymoron, right? How seriously you ought to take something ought to depend on the evidence. Right? Or if it's one of those basic assumptions about the nature of reality, like, it's not just all an illusion that our disembodied mind is perceiving, right?
Right.
If it's apart from assumptions, we have to make there's really a reality, just so the things that we do can seem to have any purpose at all.
The context.
Apart from those kinds of things, how much you ought to take a thing seriously depends on how much evidence there is that it's true. Plus, again, working in the entertainment industry, my perspective on religion is that religion is basically entertainment that has forgotten what it really is. Religion is like, people used to sit around and tell stories, and then people started taking them seriously. They started caring about the characters. It's like really worrying about what's going to happen to Frodo and Sam in the next Lord of the Rings movie.
storytelling was one of our earlier ways of communication. We told stories to convey messages and to teach lessons, and still do that.
And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with entertainment as long as you remember what it is.
Right.
Yeah.
So, Russell.
Speaking of entertainment, can I just mention something real quick since we're talking about Denmark?
Yeah.
I went to high school with a very dear woman, Mette Christensen, and her attitude, I think, toward religion kind of reflected that. I mean, we never had any great deep talks about religion or anything, but I think she definitely took more of that attitude that you just mentioned in the story, where, you know, she felt like it was okay to have religion, but, you know, for her, I don't think it was that important. But just kind of generally, she felt like it was a very private matter, and that, you know,
keep it to yourself.
Yeah, you know, it's fine for people to believe that, but again, you don't want to go shove it down people's throats.
I don't even agree with that attitude, though.
No?
I don't think it's, the more private your weird-ass thoughts like that are, the more likely it seems to me that you are to go flip out one day with no warning and shoot people.
Well, yeah, and like I say, we didn't have any real deep conversations about it, to my recollection, but, you know, I think I could kind of see that attitude in Denmark.
Yeah, but if people are going to believe weird, superstitious things, I want them to keep talking about it.
Yeah.
I don't want it to go underground. That's the worst thing I think that could possibly happen.
I can see your
I don't know
point.
if it goes underground, but there are American Christians who, the more liberal variety, who, you know, they have their own belief and they pretty much practice it on their own, and they don't try and get it into the halls of government, and they're not trying to make sure that everybody that's around them is of the same persuasion as they are. It's the fundamentalists of any variety that really cause the most and are the loudest.
Right, and the fundamentalists are not the ones who are exactly private about their beliefs.
No.
Right.
Is this what you wanted to talk about, Russell?
No.
Go ahead.
There's something in the latest Skeptics Dictionary newsletter, and I only saw this a week ago. I mean, it's already a week since I saw this, so I don't know how current it is.
Yeah.
The ABC News webpage is doing a story about atheism, agnosticism, and non-belief in America.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
You've seen this?
No.
The reporter, Oliver Liebach, has been interviewing various people who are actively involved in skeptical and humanist organizations in America, but he would also like to talk to or hear from non-believers who do not necessarily belong to any non-believing organizations, but just go about their lives with no belief in God at all. He wants to know what it is like being a non-believer in a country in which the vast majority are believers. If you would like to be interviewed by Oliver or email him your thoughts, he can be reached at oliver.libaw@abcnews.com, and I'll put that in the chat log too.
Yeah, that's a week old now. It's unlikely that he's still looking for people, but I would really like to see the article when it comes out.
Yeah, I would too.
Yeah.
And on ABC News, more than likely, is where...
or transcript thereof, right.
Yeah.
Huh, neat.
Well, you know another funny thing about Denmark?
What about?
Speaking of miracles, mayonnaise miracles, you know, the Miracle Whip salad dressing.
Oh, okay.
You want to know how you say that in Denmark?
No.
Mayonnaise?
Well, yeah. Instead of saying Miracle Whip, Mette would always pronounce it Miracle Whip. I just thought that was so cute. Miracle Whip.
Let's see. Now, the Department of Health and Human Services is about to give millions of dollars to Pat Robertson.
Ooh.
Or is that $500,000?
Half a million.
$500,000 to Pat
Yeah,
Robertson.
too
Can
much.
you tell us what this... Oh, wait a minute. But before that,
Yeah.
you have a story about the Ten Commandments.
I do.
Both here in Austin and in some other
Yes.
city.
Let me start with the Austin
Let's
angle.
do all that.
Okay. Yeah, the Ten Commandments. Bum, bum, bum.
Right, we've been reporting that a guy here in Austin brought suit against the city to take down the Ten Commandments monument on the state capitol grounds, and...
Yes, and they can stay. The
Why?
Ten Commandments can stay.
All 11 of them.
A whole 11 of the Ten Commandments.
Yeah, basically, as you mentioned, Thomas Van Orden is a homeless man who lives in Austin, and he had sued for the removal of the Ten Commandments monument on the Capitol grounds, calling it an endorsement of Judeo-Christian beliefs by the state government. But federal judge, U.S. District Senior Judge Harry Lee Hispeth, rejected those claims, saying that no reasonable person would consider the display a religious endorsement.
Okay.
I guess that means I'm unreasonable.
Now, how is it that one's not an endorsement, but Ten Commandments monuments on Capitol lawns all over the country have all been identified as religious endorsements and taken down?
Well, here's what he said. This is the judge talking. He said, quote, "The law has developed as such that there can be religious symbols associated with non-religious ones if they have historical values."
Oh, no, that's that same boat argument. You know, the problem here is that you know, this case is just not being treated the same as the other ones, and that completely mystifies me.
Yes, but this was a U.S. District Court, and so was the other ruling that was against the Ten Commandments in a U.S. District Court. Now you have two rulings destined for the Supreme Court.
Awesome.
Yep. Oh, and get this, too. This is funny. You know how he's saying it's for historical value?
Yeah.
This monument does not bear a state seal or the Texas Star that is evident on 16 other Capitol monuments, most of them memorials to the state's history. So how he's getting historical value out of this monument, I have no idea, because it has neither the Texas Star nor, you know, the state seal.
But he's saying other monuments on the lawn are historical, therefore this one is too. Because it is about stuff that happened in the Middle East thousands of years ago.
Yeah.
Cecil B. DeMille's movie is history now.
Yeah. Yesterday is history, too. Yeah, and get this, the monument was donated in 1961 by the Fraternal Order of Eagles, for the purpose of promoting youth morality to curb juvenile delinquency.
It was also funded by Cecil B. DeMille. He sent a bunch of these out. He gave the money so these could go out.
The ones in 1961, though, were not him, because that movie was all out and done by then.
Okay.
This one's 61.
The Fraternal Order of Eagles kept on doing it after they ran out of his money.
It says here the group gave similar monuments to several states.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, and those are coming down. This one guy, I'm sorry, dude, you're way out of tune. What is that thing they love to say? It's out of step with the American people on this one.
Yeah.
And it's not so much the American people, I guess, as the American legal system that he's completely out of step with. That needs to move on to the Supreme Court. I'm really eager to hear it do that. Okay, now, back to Pat Robertson. Yeah, let's do. You start.
On the Ten
Commandments. Yes, you have a follow up to that.
Yes,
an example of it.
An example of it coming down.
Yeah.
In Altoona, Pennsylvania, workers doing renovations at Altoona City Hall quietly removed a brass plaque listing the Ten Commandments at the request of the family that donated it 76 years ago.
Really?
Yes. Joe Silverman, whose family gave the city the plaque as a community service, made the request through his rabbi. He said he believes the display is inappropriate now that Muslims, Buddhists, Hindus, and atheists use City Hall. Not that they didn't before, but, you know.
Right.
Now that he recognizes
it. The family realized
The family wanted to avoid a controversy like that seen in Clearfield, about 40 miles north of the city. Again, this is Clearfield, Pennsylvania, where a dispute over a 30-year-old Ten Commandments marker appears to be headed for court. So. Yeah.
Well, but that's not an example of the courts deciding it has to come down.
No, but
in
still.
Practically every other case, the courts have decided it has to come down.
Mm-hmm. And this will be appealed.
Yeah.
Right.
Then it's going to have to go to the Supreme Court.
I don't think the U.S. Supreme Court is going to take it down.
This is what our member used to be host of the show started his own campaign to get the monument.
David Clark.
Thank you.
RemoveThe10.com.
RemoveThe10.com had assembled a bunch of. He was saying this was exactly what they was hoping for. It was a win-win situation either way. Either the court ruled against it and it had to come down, or the court will rule in favor of it, which means you have conflicting court rulings, and that has to go to Supreme Court, which I'm not so sure they won't.
Really? I don't know. I'm not that optimistic.
It would be interesting to see, but I kind of think that they will. They've done things in the past that go against the more conservative slant that they have.
I can tell you three that will definitely not vote to take it down.
Yeah.
Thomas, Rehnquist, and Scalia. Yeah.
Right.
So there you go.
They could be overruled.
They might.
Well, I mean, they'd be overturning a lot of court cases.
Yes.
If they decide that it is constitutional to leave those things there.
Yeah, that's true.
They'd be overturning a lot of court cases. And that's why I think it's unlikely. I mean, if at most they might just decline to hear the case, to just leave it undecided.
And they do that quite frequently.
Yeah.
Which is a shame.
Spineless.
It is.
Okay, let's move on. We're running low on time here, and we want to get through the rest of our stories. Mary, why don't you move on to do the Pat Robertson story?
You bet. Well, as you were just mentioning, due to these faith-based initiatives of the Bush administration, Pat Robertson's group this week got $500,000. The name of his group is Operation Blessing International. It was a charity created by Robertson and is receiving this $500,000 in the first wave of grants to be distributed under the Faith-Based Initiative, a program that Robertson himself denounced earlier this year. The Operation Blessing grant is one of 25 to be announced today. And get this, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services awarded a total of $30 million in grants to religious organizations this week.
And this is all Bush's end run around Congress.
Yeah.
Because they wouldn't pass his faith-based initiative laws that he wanted.
Right.
He's getting the money out to religious groups in other ways.
Yeah. He's just giving it to them. It is.
Oh, yeah. It's totally sick. With no oversight whatsoever.
Nope.
No accountability.
Yep. Yeah, get this. The bulk of the money, $24.8 million from the department's Compassion Capital Fund, I think I want to throw up, will be shared by 21 agencies. Those groups will act as intermediaries and provide technical assistance to other faith-based and community groups, teaching them how to write grants, manage their programs, and train their staffs. Only one organization in California received a grant, St. Vincent de Paul Management in San Diego. Nationally, the recipients include such organizations as Catholic Charities of Central New Mexico, the United Way of Massachusetts Bay, and, of course, Pat Robertson's Operation Blessing International.
If these people would just be honest, right, what would they say? They would say, the religion industry in the United States is failing, and we need a bailout by the national government.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't they just be honest and say
approach.
that? And then we would be honest and say, no, I'm sorry, religion is this non-profit thing, and you don't get to get government funds.
Yes.
That is the trade-off for not having to pay
And you don't have to pay taxes. Right.
Right. And then it would all be clear, and everybody would know exactly what was going on. Instead, they name these stupid things, these candy-coated names for, they don't say, the taken money away from the people that really need it.
From Safe Place Fund.
And using it to indoctrinate little children.
Yeah.
Fund. Right? They don't call it what it really is.
Yep. And it makes me angry. I mean, as a volunteer with Safe Place, this is not in any way their opinion. This is just my own opinion. But I would say that, I know that they have lost funding because a lot of the money that they used to get in grants to run the programs has been diverted to religious groups. To faith-based programs. All
right, let's move on. In Lynchburg, Virginia, Jerry Falwell again.
Yeah.
Jerry Falwell's church and the state of Virginia agreed to end Falwell's federal lawsuit over an 18th century law limiting how much land a church can own. Lawyers on both sides of the Falwell suit agreed Tuesday that the law does not apply to the Thomas Road Baptist Church, which plans to expand. The church was incorporated in April after U.S. District Judge Norman K. Moon struck down another state law that barred churches from becoming corporations, which are not subject to land limits. So first they knocked down a law that said they couldn't be a corporation, and then they said, well, now that we're a corporation, this law about how much land a church can own doesn't apply to us because we're a corporation. Sick. And those are the property law and the former ban on church incorporation were rooted in Thomas Jefferson's 1779 Religious Freedom Statute for Virginia, which called for a strict separation of church and state.
So what would Jefferson do? I think we should take that banner with us to D.C.
This, I'm sure everybody's heard about this, but just to recap, Falwell has called Muhammad a terrorist.
Yeah.
It's supposed to...
He will.
He
tomorrow
will.
On 60 Minutes.
On 60 Minutes tomorrow on CBS, they're going to have the interview with Jerry Falwell. Falwell stood by his opinion in a telephone interview. He said that 60 Minutes asked directly whether he considered Muhammad a terrorist, and he tried to reply honestly. He said he would never state his opinion in a sermon or book. Quote, I've often said in many places that most Muslims are people of peace and want peace and tranquility for their families and abhor terrorism. Islam, like most faiths, has a fringe of radicals who carry on bloodshed wherever they are. They do not represent Islam. Bullshit, Jerry. You just said that Muhammad himself is a terrorist. Right?
Yeah.
So then, if that's true, any Muslims who want peace and tranquility are the ones that don't represent Islam. He's completely backpedaling.
Well, he also said something about most religions have a fringe.
Yeah.
Jerry Falwell, you're it, buddy.
Falwell's just trying to keep his name in the paper. That's all it is.
Okay, we're going to skip some of the crazy antics of religion this week. Stories.
And I had such a funny Raelian story, too.
Do the quick Raelian story if you think that's the best one. In 1 minute.
Yeah.
In 1 minute, we had a Raelian, and talk about glazed over look in your eyes. Raelians, we had a Raelian visit us one time.
At the group, ACA'S group?
That was very strange. But the Raelians in Quebec, a school commission in Montreal is trying to get a temporary injunction to stop the members of the Raelian Church of Canada from trying to persuade the high school students to renounce Roman Catholicism by giving them literature saying that they can leave the church by signing an apostasy form and distributing wooden crosses and encouraging the students to burn them.
Now, if it hadn't been for the burning the crosses thing, which is just insulting to the religion, I just said this is an important public service. I think there needs to be like a major website which lists all the religions and tells you how to get out of each one. I think that would be an incredibly useful thing.
Right, but stomping or quoting a person whose name I can't find, Robert Cadotte, who's chairman of the school board's pedagogical committee.
30 seconds.
We find this absolutely unacceptable because it targets minors. It's an incitement of hatred or violence.
I'm afraid I have to agree with that.
I agree with him too. But Raelians is a Swiss-based hedonistic movement based on the concept that extraterrestrials created humanity as a laboratory experiment, and then now they're coming back. The mothership will arrive soon. That's about all you had to tell me about Raelians to get me to...
See, now, the Church of the Subgenius believes something very similar, that, the pleasure saucers are going to come and carry us off to Planet X. But in their case, it's a gag.
Yeah.
And that's extremely healthy.
They believe this stuff.
Right. Well, that is our show for this week, and we're going to wind it down here. Vic, thanks again for all of the many hours you put in here and on our public access TV show before this. I don't want this to sound like you're a farewell thing, because you're going to be around and you're going to still be involved, but stepping down from stepping down from the regular co-hosting spot, it's a traumatic moment for all of us.
It's been great.
And since we're not in Islam, I can shake your hand, and it's okay.
We're not in Islam, you can shake my hand.
How are we doing on time now, Mr. Producer?
You can keep going for 30 seconds.
30 seconds. Reminder, if you listen to this show live, go to www.atheistnetwork.com and click on the chat link. You can join in a chat room with other people listening to the show live. We had a nice crowd of folks in there today. Hi, everybody in the chat room. Thank you for listening. Please come again and tell all your friends and loved ones about our great show. That's it. We're going to say goodbye. See you next week.